Every great mix you've ever loved shares one secret ingredient, an invisible element that makes a track sound expensive. And in this video, I'm revealing how you can steal the same trick pros use to transform even the most humble home recordings into something that sounds like it was done in $1 million studio. And to take what you'll discover in this video and start pumping out mixes that people blow up your DMs over, I made you a cheat sheet I probably shouldn't be giving away. It's called the Mix Decoder Cheat Sheet. It's your unfair shortcut to unlocking mixes that sit shoulder to shoulder with the ones that have inspired you and make people stop and ask how the hell you're doing it. So when I first started making records nearly 20 years ago out of a spare den in my parents' house, it all started because I had dreams of being a rock star. I would spend hours daydreaming, watching behind-the-scenes DVDs of my favorite bands, imagining myself recording in the same legendary studios. Now, I remember being so excited when eventually one of my bands scrapped together enough cash to record at a pro studio in the area that I was growing up in. After a week of tracking, I remember just how excited I was to hear this final mix. This was gonna be it, the moment that defined the future of my rockstar lifestyle. And then I heard the final mix and I was crushed. Everything just felt thin and weak, and something was missing. So I naturally blamed it on not being in a real big name studio. And with that mindset, I chased that. So I enrolled in audio school just to get access to a professional studio and to finally hear what my music would sound like recorded in a pro sounding room. And I remember in my recording class, one of the first assignments was to record a band in Studio A. And after we got all the mics set up and I heard back the playback, that's when it hit me. The room itself changes everything. It shapes the tone, changes the vibe with everyone in the room and excited, and the integrity of the recording is enhanced. So after audio school, that was it for me, until you fast forward a few years later, and everything really changed for me when I started working at the world's largest online school for rock and metal producers, which led me to an amazing life-changing opportunity of working with my mentor, Beau Burchell. Now, Beau is a guitarist for the band Seosin and a killer producer and mixer with deep roots all over studios in LA. And suddenly I was spoiled jumping from one legendary studio to the next. Now, through all of this, one lesson stuck. The room makes such a huge impact on the record. The only problem, I didn't always have access to those rooms or the budgets for the bands that I was recording to even rent them. And this is something that's common for a lot of producers and mixers. So when I got to see more behind the scenes sessions, I started to notice something. A lot of pros, when they received tracks that weren't recorded in great spaces, they didn't panic, they fixed them. And over, I see the same secret weapon pop up in sessions. A tool that somehow gave lifeless recordings the same dimension and realism as $1 million studio. And that tool was Universal Audio's Oceanway Studios. Like most gear pros swear by, to understand what's unique about it, we have to actually go back to the roots. And in this case, we need to go back to the 1970s. Because it started with just two people, and the first guy being someone that was building custom loudspeakers. His name was Alan Sides. Now, Alan would record bands with a 2-track just so he can show off his speakers. But those 2-track demos sounded so good, artists actually started asking him if he could record their records. That small side hustle turned into what would become Oceanway Recording Studios. And here's where fate kicked in. Alan needed a console, and he had heard that some guy named Bill Putnam had a warehouse full of old gear that was just gathering dust. And while Bill was out of town, his manager had sold Alan a bunch of junk that was collecting dust. Like, Fairchild limiters, or like a UA2 compressor, some Mac Tube amps. All of this for $6,000. Yes, $6,000. So when Bill got back and found out, he couldn't believe it. He had to meet the guy who just walked away with a killer once-in-a-lifetime deal. And when they met, the two hit it off instantly. And that moment began one of the most legendary partnerships in recording history. And if Bill Putnam's name sounds familiar, it's because he founded both UREI and Universal Audio. And he was a pioneer of the idea of the room itself as part of the instrumentation and recording process. So a few years pass and Bill ends up leasing out Studio B to Alan. And Alan was over the roof. So he tweaked the space, he filled it with his favorite microphones that he was buying from overseas and all around the world. He would test out the mics, keep the ones that sounded great, and just sell the rest. But by the 1980s, Bill wasn't really involved in the day-to-day operations due to his health, unfortunately. And this led to him leasing Studio A to Alan also. Alan went in, made a few changes, and Studio A became a new hotspot as well. Eventually, Alan convinced Bill to sell him the building, though it took some time because, fun fact, Frank Sinatra was part owner. But that's how the Oceanway Studios we know today was born. The mix of architecture, acoustics, and attitude is what has made Oceanway Studios so special. Because of the lineage between Bill Putnam, Alan Sides, and Universal Audio, it made perfect sense when UA decided to try something insane. To bottle the soul of Studio A and B from Oceanway Studios inside of a plugin. The result was Oceanway Studio. And each room was captured with Sides' favorite go-to mics from his personal vintage mic collection, routed through the same consoles, compressors, and EQs that shaped Grammy-winning history. And since its release in 2013, you just needed UAD hardware to run it. Well, until now. Universal Audio has finally made Oceanway Studio available for native users. So inside of Oceanway Studios Deluxe, you get two operating modes, reverb and remic. Reverb mode adds legacy ambience just like traditional reverb sends. But remic mode is where it gets a little insane. Remic actually replaces your dry track's acoustics. It re-records your audio through virtual microphones placed inside of Oceanway itself. You can choose near, mid, and far mic positions, and with certain mics you can switch between cardioid, omni, and then blend them just like a real multi-mic session. Every one of the mics is modeled down to its capsule and circuitry, all chosen by Alan Sides himself. But that wasn't enough because the team at UA decided to add 3 new Putnam design chamber reverbs and integrate studio electronics from the Oceanway consoles and outboard racks. For Studio A, you get the Focusrite 110 EQ and its filters, and with Studio B, you get the Dowkin console with the API 550A EQs. And for the onboard compressors, you get the Fairchild 670, an LA2A, an 1176, and a DBX 160. And the processors aren't static, you can move them around in any position that you want. And pros obsessively use it because it bridges the gap between helping any lackluster recording done in ideal rooms to have better dimension, width, depth, and realism that only happens to something that's recorded in million-dollar studios. All right, so now in Luna, I want to show you some instances where something like Oceanway Studios Deluxe is really helpful in helping to create that fake million-dollar sound we all want in our tracks. So I have a set of drums right now, then I'm gonna play back. Now what I'm going to do is solo this drum room send and then bring in this instance of Oceanway Deluxe. So once I found this preset that I really enjoyed, I kept it on the reverb setting because I wanted to treat this more of a reverb. I left the mics pretty much where they were, and the only thing I changed was on the high. I think it was around here somewhere, and I just boosted it instead because I wanted it to cut through. All these settings are exactly what the preset had. Now let's go ahead and play that. So I took out a little bit of boominess from the room right now, and now I'm going to lower this, and I'm going to also solo the drums and then lightly bring in this drum room while the drums are playing. I really hope you're listening on headphones. That sounds so sick. And I actually want the 76. Oh, I like how the 76 is catching the low end now. Now, another trick that I learned in audio school, and I've seen Bo and other producers do countless time for guitars to really help give them more dimension in a mix, especially when dealing with amp sims and things like that, that can, I don't want to say sound sterile, but there can be a little bit of like glue and vibe missing. And that's incorporating a room microphone while you're tracking your guitar, so you can blend in those room mics to give a more 3D room sound to the guitars. So what I've done here is I've duplicated the 2 guitar tracks, and on these tracks, I'm actually using the remic option. I found this preset and it sounded awesome, and I just left it as is. So first let's listen to the main rhythm guitar. And now let's listen to this one with, it's the same guitar performance, but with the remiked option. Just for fun, let's move around the mics. That sounds like a room sound, so let me play the other one but again for reference. So I think I want a little bit less of these ones right here. And the next thing that's important whenever you have any multi-mic'd source, whether it's drums, guitars, bass, whatever you're doing, you always want to check the polarity and the phase. So what I'm doing to speed up that process is just using an instance of Neutron Phase, and I have the Rhythm Guitar 1 sidechained to this copy so that I can get those two in phase. And then I am going to do that over here as well again, and I'm just going to press play. Those should be phase aligned. So let's play this part again with these and these all the way down. It's really subtle, and I want to do that also with the phase turned off. You can hear it. All right, now I want to go to the vocal, and let's take a listen to this main vocal real fast. I can't let go, I guess I'll eat alone. Sounds like a vocal that was recorded in a pretty quiet room, but doesn't sound very studio special. So this is where the remic option comes in real handy. All I did was go to the presets, and I think I went to the classic and then vocal solo, and I picked this preset that to my ear sounded kind of like what I wanted. So now let me play this vocal without it on and then bring in the vocal. I can't let go, I guess I'll eat alone. Just don't waste my time. You probably like anchovies. It's subtle, but that subtlety is making it sound more expensive. I'm gonna play with the instances off in this chorus, and then I'll play it with it on. I can't let go, I guess I'll eat alone. Pineapples on my mind. Just don't waste my time. And now on. I can't let go, I guess I'll eat alone. Pineapples on my mind. Just don't waste my time. All right, so now here's this chorus without any of the Ocean Way instances added to it. I can't let go, I guess I'll eat alone. Pineapples on my mind. Just don't waste my time. Sweet and salty makes the money. You probably like anchovies. I'm shouting to the sky. My pride is in this. And when you go to grab your copy of Universal Audio's Ocean Way Studios using the link below, it helps support the channel at no extra cost to you. And if you also want to start releasing mixes that make people wonder how the hell you're pulling it off, grab the free mix decoder cheat sheet below. And now that you've seen how to tap into the same Ocean Way magic that pros have been obsessed with for decades, you're about to start giving your tracks the three-dimensional million-dollar depth that used to only be possible if you were recorded in world-class studios. But that's just scratching the surface, because there's another piece of gear engineers have sworn by for nearly 5 decades. That's why you can't afford to miss this next video, where I reveal an ultra rare piece of gear that has been shaping hit records for over 50 years and how you can harness its tone shaping magic inside of your own mixes today.